And we are live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Welcome to Rice TVX and the latest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. Today is the 18th of February, 2022. And this is the latest episode of Crypto Rewind, covering the last week in crypto. Almost couldn't get that out. And we are joined by my co-host, as usual, Mr. Satoshi Sean. Make sure you're checking out his YouTube channel. And our guest tonight is Darko from the YouTube channel Crypto Tonight. He's got a YouTube channel, as I just mentioned, and links are down below in the video description. Before we begin, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com.
And we're currently live streaming on both Rice TVX and Rice TVX2. Both are on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to both channels. Rice TVX2 is the side channel, the backup. So make sure, again, you are subscribed to both channels. I would encourage you to hit the notification bell so you can get alerted for videos when they come out. Most of the time when YouTube decides to actually provide that information. And before we begin, a few quick messages from the channel. Before we get into it, visit ricetvx.com and sign up for my mailing list so you never miss an update or new Rice TVX content. You will also find my various social media links and more. Make sure you're subscribed to Rice TVX and Rice TVX2, the backup channel. Both can be found on YouTube, and hit the notification bell to get alerted for new videos. You can also find Rice TVX on Odyssey and Library, where I have a full catalog of my videos, post up extra content, and share other appearances. And you can also find Rice TVX on BitChute. To support Rice TVX directly, you can contribute or send tips to PayPal, to Cash App, or cryptocurrencies via my Cointree link in the video description. Everything is appreciated. Another way to support what I do is by joining my Patreon channel, where you will get early access to some of my videos, exclusive content, and more. And always be sure to take advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. As much of a proponent as I am of cryptocurrencies, I also encourage people to diversify, especially with safe haven assets that have proven themselves throughout history. Gold, silver, copper, platinum, it's all available at Money Metals Exchange. You can get a free half ounce of silver, and here's how you can do so. Get your free half ounce of silver. Take full advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange in 5 easy steps. 1. Visit moneymetals.com. 2. Be a first-time buyer. 3. Purchase a minimum of $100. 4. Use the promo code RICE. 5. Get a free half ounce of silver, and it's an additional way to support the channel. You can also support Satoshi Sean's channel by using the promo code Sean as well. Get a free half ounce of silver and support Satoshi Sean. So we're going to go ahead and get things rolling here. Appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Satoshi Sean, we got his channel linked down below in the video description. And this is Darko's first time on the channel. He's from Crypto Tonight. So I guess what we'll do before we get into some of this news, because we have some really interesting news. Darko, you mind kind of giving a little introduction to yourself for people who might be unfamiliar with you, and talk a little bit about what Crypto Tonight's all about?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Appreciate it. Sean, I'm very close friends with. We've known each other for a long time, but this is our first time, or second time actually, since last week. We're on Satoshi Sean's channel.
Yep.
We did have this scheduled for last week, but things
because real quick to pause. I got that strike, but I ended up winning the appeal, which is how we're able to do this week. And yeah, we did an awesome stream last week on Satoshi Sean's channel talking about censorship. If you haven't seen that, I definitely encourage you to check that out.
Definitely. So I've been involved in crypto since about 2012, in and out over the years, and decided to start the the Crypto Tonight channel about 3 or so years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I'm losing track of time. In that time, I've also created videos for Crypto Express, Crypto Advanced channels, CoinMarketCap, Asia Blockchain Review, and was also part of the McAfee Alliance. And at the moment, I'm currently a key opinion leader for Filipino-based company SparkPoint Global Ventures, which is pretty exciting. And just a couple of hours ago, there was a public announcement that came out with regards to a brand called Kanaloa. They announced that I'm now the chief of operations for Kanaloa, and Satoshi Sean is actually the new chief marketing officer, which the announcement only came out a couple of hours ago. So to all the Kanalonians out there watching, shout out, you rock, and very excited to be here. And thanks once again for having me on the show, guys. I'm really looking forward to these interesting topics that await us.
Well, tell me real quick, what is this Kanaloa network? You familiar?
So yeah, it's long to explain, but basically think NFT generator. They are listed on CoinGecko. It's still in the very early stages. When we were approached about, would you like to come on board? The first question I asked was, give me an honest answer to this question. Do you honestly believe this could kick off? Be honest, because all our times are precious, right? Especially in crypto. It's a 24/7 industry. We never sleep. And you don't want to waste your time on something that's half serious or just not that serious. So I asked them directly, do you think this is really going to kick off? And they turned around and said 100%. And then I asked them for what's the plan? What do you guys have plans for the future? And they showed me. And from what I saw, I thought, yeah, definitely, this is exciting. So to all the Kanalonians out there, I know they're very excited right now. They got the announcement a couple of hours ago. You can check them out. Go to CoinGecko and type in Kanaloa, and you will see the website. And again, it's too much information to go through on this live stream because we do have a whole list of topics to go through tonight. But very exciting stuff. Kanaloa, the token handle, I believe, from memory, because I see 100 different projects every day, is Kana, Kana.
Yeah, Kana. So, yeah, me and Darko both interviewed the founder, and it's a cool guy, but he's very he was very passionate about it, and that's one thing that I liked about the team is they're all super committed, and I mean they work like 24/7, like literally you got to tell the guy to sleep.
Yeah,
he's really really hard at it. So I think very business oriented. You know what I mean? That's another thing.
The catchphrase is the nebula of DeFi.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I saw the term Kanaloa. How do you say it?
Kanaloa.
Kanaloa.
Is
it Hawaiian or is it like indigenous Australian?
Yeah, it comes from Hawaiian roots.
It's like Pacific because we found out with AJ that it's a god, and it's like he's from Cook Islands and they have the same god. It's like a similar name, but Kanaloa is the Tonga and Hawaii and all that.
Word. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get into the news. I just want to encourage people to make sure again that they're going over to Crypto Tonight and Satoshi Sean's YouTube channels.
And just importantly, bro, I have to make this statement about the channel. Thanks, bro. It is an infotainment channel, so we do bring information, but in an infotainment way. So there's a lot of swearing and silly things that goes on, farting sound effects. So it's just for a bit of fun.
Darko pees on camera, and he asks you if
every
stream.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's great.
I piss in the backyard and I say, if you're enjoying this stream, subscribe, like shit.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. So I get it. I get it. No, we had a lot of the news over the past few weeks or the past few episodes. It's been really kind of geared towards a political element. I mean, there's so much news coming out. So before we get into the Ukrainian and Canadian news, Biden with the executive order and other news, these are kind of honorable mentions, and we're going to talk briefly about
Canadian, Ukrainian, Biden. Seen a pattern there.
So honorable mentions: Mr. Snoop Dogg, using his intellectual skills from smoking all that herb, is teaming up with the blockchain gaming firm Gala Games. He's going to be releasing a CD and NFT format back on Death Row, I believe is the name of the title. And he's also recently obtained Death Row Records and is converting it into the first NFT music label, which is cool. We had Twitter adding Ethereum options to tipping feature. PayPal, Venmo will charge a flat fee for crypto transactions below $200. I'm skipping over these two because we're going to come back. US-based crypto firms join forces with travel rule compliance, and you definitely should check that out. And I wish we had more time to cover that. The U.S. Department of Justice names crypto enforcement director, reveals new FBI group focused on blockchain analysis and asset seizure. And the ones I skipped over, we have Miami coin disbursement to fund a rental assistance program, says Mayor Suarez, who's definitely pro-Bitcoin and pro-crypto. And then we also have Wyoming lawmakers introducing legislation for state-issued stablecoin, which is really interesting. So that's regional-based token. So regional money, regional currency, and then a state-based token, state-based currency. So Sean wanted to talk a little bit about those two. What did you want to say, Mr. Sean?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think that we're going to see in the next, year or two, a lot of states kind of take up the mantle when it comes to crypto and usage, regulation, all that. I think it's going to be kind of like with the pandemic and everything. Some states are just going to say, this is what we're going to do. We don't care what the federal government says, which like Wyoming, Dragon Chain just incorporated in Wyoming, and they were, huge in, I think it was Washington, or Oregon. And that money is moving out of those states. And I think a lot of lawmakers are now starting to see, because I've talked to some people that are, lobbying and talking to them, and they used, freedom and liberty and, good for the people, and it didn't get through. But then when you say trillions of dollars in your district that you're getting rid of, or that you can keep there, or you can send to China or South America, they understand that gets through, and they're starting to see that, and they're starting to be a lot more pro crypto because of that.
Coming back, when we talk about the Biden executive order, which deals with some CBDCs, I think we can come back to more of this topic of discussion, because if the federal government was to, let's say, legalize Bitcoin, as Bitcoin is legal tender, I mean, there is this supremacy clause, because I've had this discussion with some constitutional attorneys, because I was like, well, what about states' rights? And when it comes down to it, the supremacy clause would stomp states' rights with the federal government superseding. So it's interesting. So, I mean, I think the idea of regional and state-issued currencies is an interesting idea, because, as I was saying before we started live streaming, is there was a period of time in the United States when we didn't have central banking. In between what people might consider the second and third, which would be before the creation of the Federal Reserve, or between the third and fourth, but either way, before the creation of the Federal Reserve, there was no central banking. There was no charter given to anybody. So you had banks issuing currencies, regions issuing currencies, states issuing currencies, because Texas had their own currency at one point. So I think it's going to be interesting seeing what's going on with the dollar, with inflation, with the people losing purchasing power, and how it's affecting everyone.
Texas had 6 different currencies.
By adding that element, though, I think is an interesting element to definitely consider. And it kind of ties in, I mean, because if we're talking about regions and states adopting cryptocurrencies, the first main article is kind of a summarization of what's happening in Canada, Ukraine, and other situations where Bitcoin is coming into spotlight.
I don't like this article at all.
No, it's not a good article at all.
It's written terrible. It's I mean, you can read the first line is a lie. and then it's I think it's slanted. Protesting anti-vax truckers. They've never been that. The other article is correct. They're anti, mandates. But this, and then there's other things in this article that are very, very slanted. But yeah,
most of the mainstream news is coming out because even when we're talking about Ukraine, I was on BitBoy Cryptos around a blockchain today, just a couple hours ago, and there was a guy named Niku who is in the Ukraine, and he's saying that it's definitely not what's being reported on the news.
No
shit. Their president said that, dude.
Even he's like, our military is not doing much. They keep talking about internet going out in Ukraine, but this guy was live streaming fine. Mm-hmm. So it's like propaganda and distortions and lies that our mainstream media is giving, and it's bleeding over into
Darko
crypto.
Said the same thing to me a million times. Like the stuff that was going on in Australia, and it was portrayed like it was everywhere. And he's like, it's not like that, dude.
Yeah.
It is bad. It is bad. Not to say it's not bad. He is, he would say things like, it's not bad. Just, this, they just, come over and shove their fist up my butt once a week. Yeah. And he did have a little Stockholm syndrome sometimes, but it was not as bad as what, a lot of things that were portrayed.
My main concern with this whole Ukrainian Russian thing at the moment, I mean, obviously nobody likes war. War is bad and there's going to be casualties. But my main concern is whether or not it proceeds into an actual full-on war. Between now and the confirmation of that, I am expecting that these fuel companies are going to start jacking up fuel prices and using that conflict as an excuse for us to pay more on fuel, which doesn't really have anything to do with Russia and Ukraine. So I'm expecting fuel prices to jump over the next few weeks if this conflict keeps going for the next few weeks and the propaganda
that will happen.
I agree. And whether or not there's a conflict or not, as long as the mainstream news is reporting it as there is, then it's going to have the effects even without actually having to have. Because I don't think Russia really wants to go to war. I don't think this is a situation that's escalating to that degree. I think we're sensationalizing this to an incredibly crazy degree.
It's a distraction from the mandates.
There's a lot of distraction along with it, but there's words used that I haven't heard since I was a child. Nuclear.
Like Moldova?
Nuclear strike. Those are being thrown around now.
I don't see anybody doing that. If anybody was to do something like that, it would be more of like North Korea. But
Putin is saying it, and Biden is saying they're using the words nuclear weapons.
Putin is saying that they're going to nuke. He's going to nuke Ukraine.
Putin has brought up nuclear weapons multiple times now, and it's a veiled threat. But he's like, hey man, we have nuclear weapons. We're talking about Europe having to back off. He basically said, this is what he's worried about. He's worried about Ukraine going into NATO, and he's right. He's 1,000% right. Any country in NATO, you're tying your own hands. That's one of the reasons why Turkey's a pain in the ass, because Turkey knows this. If anybody messes with any country that's in NATO, every country of NATO has to attack that country. That's the law. That's the rule. We got to do it. And Turkey has pushed that, and that's why no one really messes with them, because they know they're kind of like that asshole friend that always talks shit because he knows you're going to back him up.
Let me ask you this: ask both of you guys this: if they're kind of distorting and stretching out what is actually happening in Ukraine, what is the effect of an article talking about turning to Bitcoin for crowdfunding, and then also legalizing Bitcoin, which is actually a stretch of an article because it's not really the president.
Not making a legal tender, but
it's not.
It actually legitimizes Bitcoin as a use case to those in the mainstream world who think Bitcoin was up until now a scam. That old school mentality that Bitcoin is a scam, and now it's going to actually convert a lot of those people who all these years thought Bitcoin was a scam into something that they will now see and witness firsthand as something actually legitimate. That's what I believe.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, I think we're going to probably see more mainstream push for more negativity on Bitcoin, so that when you're seeing people in Canada receiving donations in Bitcoin and Ukrainians getting crowdfunding in Bitcoin, they're going to try to make it look like it's a negative thing that they're using these networks.
Yeah, but the counter argument to that is, as long as governments keep freezing bank accounts, people will look at other options, and Bitcoin is one of them. So,
yeah, there was part of another article.
Yeah, well, that's
you had sent that was kind of touching on that.
Yeah, well, that's for Canada. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about with Ukraine? I mean, they are legalizing Bitcoin, but it's not legal tender, which not really sure what the difference in that really is. But
they could obviously buy, sell, trade, send, use Bitcoin, go on registered exchanges in Ukraine, whereas
well, I guess
maybe they weren't legal up until this point.
Gold is not legal tender, but it's legal.
In the United States, gold, I believe gold and silver are legal tender in the United States.
Not talking about Ukraine. But you can't know. That's how I've gotten through to a lot of my asshole friends who are like, hey, man, if Bitcoin's not real, I can't go to the gas station and pay to fill my truck up with it. And I was like, yeah, dude, but if you had a $50,000 bar of gold, you couldn't fill your tank up with that either. You know, and that's real, right? And they're like, well, yeah. So maybe it's like that.
Unless you're using gold backs.
Yeah, if you brought gold backs to Walmart in Texas, they would be like, dude, don't want, what is this?
And that's the silliest thing. I mean, if people knew what they were, it would make sense.
Exactly.
Okay, so Canada's Emergency Act declares war against crypto and freedom.
Nope, that's good. Stop there.
Protesters.
No, you don't have to read the rest of it. Just on freedom. That was good right there, dude. That was good.
Yeah, it declares a war against freedom.
On freedom, it does. Yeah,
and I would definitely agree with that statement. It seems like Trudeau's gotten a little off the rocker. I am going to be doing a conversation next week with his brother Kyle Kemper, and get some insight
look forward
from
to that,
him.
man.
What's interesting though is them being able to freeze people's bank accounts without warrants and things like that, no court order, and they've already taken donation lists from centralized services and distributed that to financial institutions.
Yeah.
And they're also talking about potentially arresting people that would have donated to this situation, which also kind of is leading into top Canadian banks forced offline in a possible bank run.
Is that the one that has the link for you to donate?
It's not, and I didn't include that article, but I've got the
that one. Scroll down.
But I've got this.
They've written, go.
Sounds like they learned a thing or two from BitConnect.
What's the top one there? What does it say?
Stay strong and keep fighting tyranny. Sometimes the tree liberty must be refreshed with the blood of tyrants. Texas are with y'all.
I wonder who made that one. Who did that?
Is that, well, I would say, is that short for Satoshi Sean, but everybody's got a sat by him.
That's how many sats I donated.
Did it cost you 44 Satoshi to send?
I don't know.
Because that would have been 100,000 even.
I don't know.
If that was you, why did you donate 99956?
I went through Cash App. So
it's his lucky number.
If you click on the donate, it sends you to Cash App. So whatever they took out.
No, it doesn't show anything.
But yeah, it's really easy to donate. So you just click that, go donate.
To do on chain?
Yeah.
And that would be using the Lightning Network through Cash App?
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, no, I wanted to include this. Now, originally, I think they took down the original crowdfunding mechanism for Tallycoin and then restarted another one because the original link doesn't work. And I had heard that because, see, even with Tallycoin, there is a centralized service, so somebody who owns the company, owns the web domain, that Canada could attack and say, you can't do this based off the Emergencies Act in Canada. So maybe this isn't even viewable in Canada, but it's awesome because last week that was one of the articles I wanted to bring up, but didn't get to do it, was the fact what happened with GoFundMe. And not just GoFundMe, but other crowdfunding platforms where they were being coerced by law enforcement or government entities to basically not allow those funds to go where they were supposed to go.
Are they coerced, or are they just in bed with them? I mean, in league with them?
Well,
there's so many things for us to unpack with this, dude.
Yeah, I know, but look at everybody who's kind of stood out against the establishment and what's happened to them. So from a business perspective, if it was an individual, it's different, but from a business perspective, usually businesses just tuck their tails because they want to maintain having a business.
Well, here, man, here, let's look at that honestly. A year or so ago, we set the country on fire. We destroyed so much property. We killed people. We took over a city and had a what the press called an anarchist country, where there was tons of rapes and people got killed. All that GoFundMe went out of its way to promote. It went out of its way to promote BLM. Went out of its way to promote the protesting. Went out of its way to do extra tweets for free. Whereas these people have done nothing. No one has been harmed. Nothing. Not even property has been destroyed. And they took $10 million. So they made probably $2 or $3 million off that in their fees. And they said, okay, we're not going to give that to you. We're going to keep this money, but we're going to decide where to put this other money. So that's theft. They stole the money. 100%. They stole the money by taking their fees and not giving the money back. And the fact that the government allowed that to happen, it shows that they're in bed with each other. There was like a leaked Zoom call or something where they were talking about it with government. So it's obvious that tech and government are completely working together and getting paid for it. But everything that Trudeau's done, from just saying anyone with a gas can, police take their gas cans. Piece of shit cops. You're a cop and you stole people's gas cans, you're a piece of shit. You're a criminal. You stole from them. You should go to jail. There was no law for that. Their ruler just said, take people's property because I don't like them doing what they're doing with it. And the police said, yes, sir, we'll do it. Okay. And that's why me and Lisa argue about this.
I love it when Sean talks like that.
Me and Lisa argue about this imitates me. Because Lisa will say, I support the police. And I say, I don't support the police. And she will get mad. She'll be dumbfounded. She's like, what? I was like, I support law enforcement, but I don't support the police. If you say I don't support
policy enforcers.
If you support the police, you're in a cult. That's just like believe all women. No, some of them are liars. Look at Aquaman, whatever her name was, Johnny Depp's girlfriend, lying piece of shit.
Her name was
Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend, a lying piece of shit. You know, and there are women out there that are lying pieces of shit. You shouldn't believe them.
You sound bitter.
Well, because there's lying pieces of shit. There's lying pieces of shit who are guys. But you shouldn't believe all women, and you shouldn't just support someone because they have a certain job. You should support someone who supports who honors their oath. There's hundreds of police that have been putting out videos and posts that are like, this is wrong. I can't do this. I can't stand for this, and I can't execute these orders. There's Canadian military who are coming out and saying, this goes against the oath that I took. I will not and I cannot support this. Justin Trudeau's head of security for Secret Service resigned. That's law enforcement. That's who I would support. That's who I support.
They just follow with the votes are, dude. That's it.
Yeah, it's sad. What do you think about the fact, though, that Canadians are getting a little fed up with this Emergencies Act and talking about pulling their money out of banks because it just takes a small percentage, really, of
That's that right, dude. That right there. That's the
showing
conspiracy.
power.
That was the first thing I thought when I heard about it. The first thing I thought was everyone should just get their money out. Fuck them up.
Yeah, that's the conspiracy though, because people were pissed because of the control that obviously was showed how they don't have sovereignty over their money. So they want to go get sovereignty over their money, put it back under their mattress, like they did.
Well, but also I imagine a decent amount of Canadians probably donate it, and that information is public. So if they know it's public and they know that their accounts can be frozen,
that's another thing that
people
article,
may be doing it to avoid having their money taken from them.
The article said was slanted. It specifically said most Canadians do not support the convoy.
Right. Well, it also turned into it was a small fringe minority. And if it's such a small fringe minority, why would you need to enact an emergency act?
That's a very good point.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's kind of contradicting himself.
The reason why they did that is because of this, because I think the banks are in control, and I think this is because
so those
shows that.
Right. So those crowdfunding platforms, they can't function unless they're a crypto without dealing with regulation and following bank protocol. And then even with the crypto ones, like with Tallycoin, I mean, like there is nothing set up for Tallycoin based off of the way that you set up a campaign to get donations that they earn anything. They don't get anything from this. As far as I'm understanding, all of this goes straight to, because it's all, you control your wallet. You put your wallet address in. So you could choose your wallet address. So as far as I'm concerned, Tallycoin doesn't get a percentage of anything or anything to that effect. And there's no on or off ramp utilizing banks. When you're utilizing the banking system, you got to follow all these regulatory compliance. And if that's your main source of getting your revenue, and yeah, then you're kind of in bed with the banks, whether or not you want to be or not. It's sad. I mean, now hopefully we'll start seeing more people adopting things like cryptocurrencies, knowing what kind of power crypto takes away from the governments, because Trudeau can say, you can't donate. We're not going to allow you to donate fiat money to these campaigns, to any of these causes. Even if you want to, we're not going to allow you to. But cryptocurrency allows you to completely circumvent that.
But it's so obvious because he could literally say, I don't want you to donate money to my political rivals. There's just a tiny little hair difference between this, because these aren't violent people. These aren't, criminals. These are just people that say, I don't like what you have done in my government. That's all. And he's saying, no, you can't say that. And we're going to take your children. That was like a week or two ago.
If you want to look at it seems like to be in an uproar in Parliament up in Canada. I mean, he had some pretty snide. Justin Trudeau had some pretty snide remarks talking about swastikas and stuff to a Jewish female who was part of the Parliament.
Yeah, there's people in. Yeah, watch that.
I was talking earlier about this with Colin Pate from Pre-Search, because it's like Canadians are still, even when they're angry, they're still like really polite.
Yeah.
Because the guy's like, sir, I've given you 2 opportunities to apologize to the Parliament, to everybody here. And
then South Park.
I will give you one more opportunity, sir. One more opportunity to redeem yourself. I know they don't speak with a French accent, but it just sounded cooler to say it that way. I'm waiting for you to
do a Terrence and Phillip fart.
Yeah.
I was on Miss Teen Crypto about an hour or two ago, and we were talking about this, and she was talking about how terrible we talked more about it off camera, but she was telling me about how things are, because I'm from New Jersey originally, and I was like, yeah, I really miss it. I want to go up and visit. She goes, don't stay where you are. You're good in Texas. It's like, you don't want to come up here. And she's just talking about the passports that she has to use, and how like restrictive and crazy things are there. And she was talking about when she went to Miami, how it's like a totally different place. and she just felt like so relaxed and free, and she doesn't feel that way at home.
Isn't that crazy?
It's sad. And she said when she went to Utah with with Lisa, like the fact that there was like gun stores and everything was so weird. It's like, dude, we walk around with guns, just out like at the grocery store and stuff. It's like, she said, yeah, that's so like awesome. But I don't understand how things could go this far, but it's having the opposite effect, because you can look at France, Germany, and people are
you're seeing
movement.
we've seen not only that, but you've seen precursors to this. We had what was going on in I'm drawing a blank of that name of the area where people were protesting outside of China, because it's not technically China. What was that territory? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Fuck.
It's like a city.
Is it Hong Kong?
Yeah, Hong Kong.
Yeah,
because there were protests going on there. Then we had the Yellow Vest movement going on, the Patriot movement in the United States, which on January 6th, there
were people in Ireland marching saying, I can't breathe.
Yeah, no, and there were people in New York City and in DC marching for Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that.
So there's been a lot of, the media is just not covering a lot of this, so it's been escalating.
Bro, the media in Australia covered that much, right? But they only allowed negative comments to the article. There was nothing positive. So they basically, it was really disrespectful, actually, because a lot of the comments that were left, probably by the news agencies themselves anyway, were very disrespectful towards the people out on the streets taking a stand. Like, not one good comment to support them, not one.
I'm going to take this Tallycoin link and put it in the live chat so people have it if they want to be able to tip and contribute to this.
And from what I saw, the only thing you could do was Cash App. You said you just put your wallet address in, but I didn't see that option.
I haven't donated myself personally yet, so I can't tell you what the different options are, but I did include this in the video description or in a live chat if people want to get it, and it's in the video description too. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, man. I did read though in one of those articles that the government was looking into freezing the crypto exchange accounts of those people who are supporting this too, which goes back to what I've been saying all these years to everybody: keep your fucking funds off the exchanges. Period.
Yeah, that's the only place that would have any kind of real control.
Right, custodial. Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up, Darko, because it's when people are thinking about this, because I've had some friends of mine asking me, well, can they just take people's crypto? And I'm like, well, if your crypto is in a custodial service where you don't possess your private key, then yeah, definitely they could.
And that's something they talked about in the article that I thought was odd, that they were looking at taking like 39 people's crypto accounts, confiscating it or something.
Right, because those, I guess those were what were attached to different crypto-based crowdfunding platforms or donation addresses, and people were able to see what those addresses were, so they flagged them.
Yeah, too easy.
But then taking all the information from all the people that donated fiat using credit cards or however it might have been done, to have that information be given out to financial institutions, so that those financial institutions can then in turn restrict, freeze, whatever. And it's showing Canada that, one, they don't have control of their money, and it's showing the rest of the world. So and so if you're seeing this happen in Canada, you may take actions similar to Canadians just because you're like, well, I'm not going to wait till this even comes to my country.
I made that point. I made that point on Miss Teen Crypto, that people are seeing this around the world, and it's not some third world country. It's not some country in Africa where a warlord took over the government. It's not some country that just had a civil war. This is Canada.
This is Canada.
This is the Western world. So this can happen there. It can happen wherever the hell you are.
So
in Canada, it has a new
In
meaning.
France, in Italy, in America, Mexico, wherever.
What were you going to say, Darko?
One thing I want to know, which no articles have made clear, is all right. They're going to freeze these accounts, but for how long are they going to freeze these accounts? I haven't seen that information anywhere. And if someone does have their account frozen and they have serious medical conditions and they need to access those funds from a frozen account to get maybe some sort of elective surgery or medication for a life-threatening disability, and they don't get that money and they die, will the government then be held accountable for that? That's what I want to know.
Well, no, the government won't be held accountable because, like, even in the United States, you just can't just sue the government. You almost had to get the government's permission to sue the government. So I'm sure it's even more restrictive in Canada, being that they're part of the UK.
That's crimes against humanity.
In fact, if a federal officer does something illegal to you, you can't do anything about it.
When a country changes things on an emergency basis, 9 times out of 10, and that might even be generous, it never reverts back to what it was before, and those emergency bases becomes permanent.
Look at the Patriot Act. Look at taxation. Literally, income tax was a temporary thing.
It's supposed to be temporary and voluntary.
So it's
temporary.
Whenever freedoms are given up, you don't get them back.
Yeah, it's like once they take an inch, they're going to try to take 2 inches. They're not going to give you the inch back.
You're not getting that other inch.
It's like so the Emergency Act is basically in place. So and who the hell knows, man? Like, unless they're able to there's procedures in Canada for, what's the word in the United States when you get rid of a president? Impeach.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some sort of impeaching option that could take place. Yeah,
they can have a vote of no confidence. I think
I don't see the Canadians revolting, because you haven't seen, and I'm commending it beyond commending. I haven't seen or heard of like any real violence taking place in Ottawa. Not even controlled opposition violence.
Oh, that probably censored.
In fact, they stopped violence. There were people that showed up and were like, "Hey, man." I saw some stuff on that. That people showed up, and that they were government workers, and they were like, "Hey, man, let's go storm this. Let's go break this." And they were like, "Hey, you get the fuck out of here, dude. Get the fuck out of here. You're the one we're gonna fuck with." I'm
not saying the Canadians aren't capable of it, but I'm just saying,
but you don't see that on the news. That these people are
all the arrests that are taking place have been very civil. I don't know if that's because the police don't really want to be doing what they're doing, but I wish some of these officers would actually take a stand for what they believe in, and instead of doing something you don't want to do.
Which we saw that in France. We've seen that in other places where the police, they take off their riot gear and they, stand with the
well, even in Canada, after like they were done like with their main protesting stuff, and in different provinces, I seen where the community was hugging and shaking hands with different police officers.
Well, they're humans too, man. So
right, they got a job to do, and I can't say that all law enforcement officers and all police officers and such are bad. It's a duality in everything, because you definitely have police officers that are disgusted with the system,
and doctors and nurses and surgeons, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on
and on and on and on and on. Continuous. It's like the never-ending story. Or that song, this is the song that doesn't end.
I haven't heard that for a long time.
Yes, it goes on and on, my friends.
I saw a 10-hour version of that on YouTube once. I don't know if it's still there, but it was just looped for 10 hours.
Well, I mean, that's all you can do is sing it. Because technically, once you start singing it, I started singing it. I really shouldn't have quit. I'm a quitter. Because it is a song that never ends. But that's all we would do, is we would be singing for the rest of the show. All of us together just singing that song.
Try playing that at a party. Watch everyone's reactions like, no!
Remember that, that He-Man meme where it's I said, hey, what's going on? That played for 10-hour loop like constantly.
I haven't seen that one. No.
Oh yeah, that's played that.
So
That's on a 10-hour loop, which my kids used to just turn that shit on and leave.
we had
I'd
heard
wake up
some
and it was
stuff
20.
like in January about the Biden administration and executive orders, crypto related, coming out in February. And here we are live on the 18th of February with like 10 days left. And they're talking about next week issuing a report. So is that a report on the order or like a precursor, like a pre-order, like a pre-executive order?
From what I understood, it sounds like he's just giving direct instructions to research the crypto thing. That's the way I absorbed it. It actually doesn't sound negative. It sounds positive.
Well, that's one of the things that I was thinking, and I mentioned when I was on around the blockchain earlier, is that I with all the stuff happening around the world, with nations legalizing it, making it legal tender, I could see this going very pro because if the United States was to make Bitcoin legal tender, how does that work for nations that are trying to avoid sanctions by utilizing cryptocurrencies? Does that put a stop to that?
Maybe to a point.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So because if the rest of the world is bucking up against the United States, trying to utilize, I could see the United States being pro crypto, not wanting to be, but out of necessity.
Yeah, I agree.
So right now, if I give crypto to the Iranian government, that's not illegal because it's not legal tender. It's like if I sent them Beanie Babies or autographs, baseball cards. They have value. Everyone knows they have value, but they're not legal tender. So if the United States did make it legal tender, that would actually probably put a stop to it because then I can't send it.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know enough about that part of how economics works and political climate, but it's made me think. Plus, I mean, you can't really technically stop Bitcoin. And if they were able to make Bitcoin legal or legal tender,
right? But it would be illegal. You could make it illegal to do that if it was legal tender. From what you're saying, it's making me think too.
Well, also, but you got like you have countries like Russia avoiding sanctions in U.S. dollars by bypassing systems utilizing cryptocurrencies. This has already taken place.
Yeah.
So if they're doing that, if Bitcoin is a legal tender, and usually the rest of the world starts to follow suit. So if it becomes like a legal tender, like pretty much like an IMF thing, then how does that really affect countries trying to avoid sanctions? How does it? So there's a whole big different area that just opens up, kind of like almost like a secret hidden weapon for the United States to try to remain in power, which is not what crypto was designed for, but just this double-edged sword that could, in a sense, backfire against them. Because if they legalize Bitcoin or crypto and cryptocurrencies, and then you're seeing what's happening in Canada with money and bank freezing and stuff like that, you could see the world start getting away from fiat monies and start transacting in cryptos and start pricing things in Satoshis.
Or even just stable coins.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, stable coins are still pegged to $1. I would love for the day that we get away. I would love to see like us pegging Bitcoin to gold or something more like.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Like that's why I like the whole saying. One Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin, and it will always be worth one Bitcoin.
When Bitcoin hits zero, that'll be the best thing, because not that it's worthless, but that it's no longer valued at $1, because the dollar just can't. The dollar's worthless.
Well, it wouldn't be zero. It just you wouldn't have nothing to necessarily
my
denominate
point was
it
when
against.
I said it's that Bitcoin is worth $0 because it's not. Dollars aren't really worth anything.
Because right now it would be like 20 ounces of gold, roughly.
Yeah, it would be like gold or gold would be worth so many Bitcoin. So much Bitcoin. Everything would flip.
So I'm looking forward to seeing this. I don't see the United States trying to shoot themselves in the foot. And I don't know if I don't know if you've been seeing this, Darko, but I've been seeing this a lot, and you too, Sean, being that you're in the U.S. I've been seeing a lot of talk in articles and verbiage just mentioned about the United States, Bitcoin, legal tender. Have you been getting this at all over the past week?
No.
Yeah, I have for the past this year, really. Just it's just, I mean, dude, Warren Buffett.
That's gotta value Bitcoin and rice. I don't even know how you would do that. That's a lot of rice.
That's a lot of rice.
That's a lot of rice. That's so funny. Okay, so Weekend at Bernie's is putting out the executive order. We're looking forward to that. U.S. Senate bill aims to resolve risks. Before we move on to that, in addition to this, we're having an order on crypto and CBDC. So when I talked about the supremacy clause, the idea that the federal government may be putting out pro legislation towards crypto, how does that affect states issuing a state issue cryptocurrency? If they issue a federal cryptocurrency and somehow try to tie this into where the supremacy clause, where states cannot issue a currency to compete against the US dollar because blah, 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 blah.
Messy.
So it kind of ties back into what you were saying, Sean, with Wyoming. So this,
Texas and Florida, there's so many states that are like drawing a line and making it known we are on board with crypto and blockchain. We're moving ahead this way. And they're the same states that have already thumbed their nose at the federal government when it came to mandates. So they've already proven that they're not going to back down no matter what the government throws at them. However, if the
government legalizes it, it's like you don't have a need to even like create your own state or regional currency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Federal Reserve, being that banks seem to have kind of a lot of control with things. I don't see them being cool with a state or regional issued currency.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think more of the banks aren't going to see that as cool. So I think they're going to that'll be the big push.
Yeah.
Where we either it hits the fan or they back down and we win completely. But here, like when the governor of Miami, the mayor of Miami,
governor,
yeah, and the things he said were, they were like, like I understood them, but when you hear the profound things of the mayor of one of the biggest cities in the country, basically say, I don't want to get paid in the dollar because the dollar is a piece of shit. And I didn't really think about it till way after because I was just so like jazzed.
Well, that's what this guy Saddam Hussein, who I'm not pro Iraq or pro Saddam Hussein, but that's all he wanted to do. Was it Iraq or Iran? No, I'm thinking it's Iran. It was Iraq.
Iraq, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All he wanted to do is sell the Iraqi the oil for something other than US dollars.
Well, that's what every big war has been about. Libya.
Well, since World War One.
Since Iran was the first one. We were best friends with Iran. Like super buddies. And Iran was like the United States. It was more like Miami than it was like any other traditional Middle Eastern country. Then we installed the different government. They wanted to get off the dollar. I think Libya was the funniest one. It was 2 weeks from when they said that they wanted to back their currency with their gold and oil before we said that they were, a terrorist country. It was literally like 2 weeks. So it's always about the money, man. It's always about the money. And I think that will, if states
control of money.
Yeah. But I think if states do that, that'll be the big thing that could, break the union a little bit. But like I was saying, to hear the mayor of Miami say people want to get paid in something that they know that their money will not go down in value as soon as they get it. That's why I want to get paid in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that from a U.S. official is crazy.
Well, the last article is U.S. Senate bill aims to resolve risks to United States from El Salvador's Bitcoin law, which this kind of goes back to what the clip that we play periodically from Hillary Clinton talking about Bitcoin being a threat against the U.S. dollar as a world reserve currency and the stability of nations, which the U.S. I mean, it's kind of like, like one of the things that one of the first things that I kind of had indication about our mainstream media, our Ministry of Propaganda, kind of putting out a bunch of BS was a lot of the reporting about Mexico. They made it sound like any U.S. citizen who went to Mexico get locked up in a jail, you're never going to get out, you're going to get killed by gangsters and all this stuff. But the Mexicans are actually like, it's not quite 100% like that. Plus, things like that happen in the United States. But one of the things the Mexican people do is if they don't like what their government is doing to them, they make it well known. They'll burn down the house of their president. So they don't report things correctly. And when you're reporting other nations adopting things like Bitcoin as a legal tender, it makes you start to question, well, if somebody's legalizing this as a legal tender, what is the problem with the old legal tender? And it starts making people start thinking a little bit more. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah. I think it's obvious. I thought you were going to play the Hillary Clinton clip. But
you want me to?
It's what you do all the time.
Okay, well then, okay. It's just going to happen. Here it is.
And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency, because what looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger. So when we think about this new environment in which we find ourselves that we've been discussing for the last some minutes, we can't just think about nation states.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well. Merry Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Yeah.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
Go, Brandon. Yeah, Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton and Justin Trudeau have both come out as two of the strongest proponents for Bitcoin and decentralization. I had to actually thank both of them for that.
Yeah. And that's what everyone's seeing, dude. It's like Star Wars, man. You know, the tighter
we got to avoid this.
The more countries and provinces will slip through your fingers, man. It's the way it is.
That's just the way it is.
I like how in the live chat box, Abel Matthews says Hitlery.
Why is Killery? That's a nice one. That's funny. El Salvador is cool. I mean, I like what El Salvador's done, but the fact that it's got such a high crime rate and murder per capita isn't like something I want to go around advertising, because it's like when you're tying all that stuff together, and it makes Bitcoin look bad if you want to put it in those kind of perspectives. And people are just conditioned to listen to this propaganda that spouts out the waves.
But I think people are waking up, and they're seeing that it's not. I know there's still a lot of people that are like, oh, it's just for criminals, it's for buying people and whatnot. But I think that, like, I want to say most people, but I don't know if it's most people, but it is a lot more people are not falling for that anymore.
I feel you. You guys got anything you want to add to any of these stories we talked about?
When you mentioned El Salvador, I remember an article that I read about 6 or so months ago where there was this crypto YouTuber over there, and he kept making videos of him buying all these flashy, expensive things, and he was showing off a lot, and it started to piss off a lot of the locals there because there's a lot of poverty-stricken people. Apparently, I don't know. That's just the reason I heard. And anyway, so this guy was going on YouTube, his crypto YouTube channel, just showing off, flashing things around, and people ended up tracing him to some shops, and they waited for him to go back to his car, and they shot him to death. And
wow,
that was the reason they gave. He was being a show off.
I think me and Sean have mentioned something like this before, but the idea of honeypots. You have all these freedom crypto people moving to El Salvador and Mexico. And I mean, it could be a setup in a sense. You know, I mean, what is a bunch of crypto people going to do if you've got cartel coming in with guns telling you to give up your hardware wallet and tell them how to access it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they get for showboating it.
No, I agree. Especially if you're in a nation that's impoverished. Like, if I was Venezuelan, I wouldn't be making videos about me getting fat from eating a bunch of food because everybody's starving there.
I disagree. I think you should have a security force to kill them all.
Yeah, well, if you're John McAfee and you can roll like that, then I guess you can get away with it.
Yeah,
Well,
true.
Then you move. Yeah, I wouldn't go there unless I could do that.
We don't have McAfee money though.
You know, you could buy a tank for like 40 grand from Russia. That's all.
Does it
That's
work?
not much.
Where do you? Okay, so do you have a connection to buying tanks from Russia?
Yeah,
Cool.
it's
Well,
not hard at all.
Yeah, he
share
knows
it
a guy
in
in
the-
Nigeria.
Let's share it in a video description
It's not hard at all.
so we can all arm ourselves with tanks.
It's literally $39,000 and you have a tank. I mean, it's an old tank.
Is there any
They could blow
taxes
up
involved?
a lot of people.
39,000 flat. Are we using fiat? Do they accept
Does it come with an
crypto?
engine?
Yeah, yes, we're using fiat. 39,000. You can buy armored transports.
You're crazy.
Dude, yeah, that's like old stuff, man.
He's so
You
crazy.
used to have one tank, couple dudes, arm them real well.
Did you smoke some weed earlier?
No,
He's been
sure?
window shopping.
part of my financial plan actually. It's all worked into it. When I go to Belize, that we have to have,
Does it come with an engine for $39,000?
Yes, it does. It's very.
Fuck
They
you
have a
go to
lot of
Belize
them.
for?
Huh?
What would you even want to go to Belize for?
It's nice.
Costa Rica's just as nice and better,
I want to buy.
but they require vaccinations to get over there. Oh, you're good. You're vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm vaccinated.
Yeah, you're vaxxer.
I'm a vaxxer. Totally.
Yeah. I like giving you hell, man. All right. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap things up. Darko, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I know that being on the other side of the world. What time is it for you, anyways?
It's 12:05 lunchtime right now.
12:05. Okay, so you're 16. That all that-
14 hours. Oh no, you're different. Oh no.
I am
14
an
hours.
hour ahead of Sean. No, I'm 2 hours ahead of Sean.
No, you're 1 hour ahead, Sean.
Yeah.
What time have you got there?
What's that?
What time do you have now?
I have 8:05 p.m. It's Saturday. It's Saturday early afternoon for you, though, right?
Yes.
Past noon, you said. So it's
Yes.
like right past noon.
Yep.
5 past noon.
Yes,
past,
it would be
yeah.
5 minutes. It's the same. They are hours. They're not minutes.
Well, some people are like
No one is.
on like there's like it's not exactly
No,
hour even. It's like a half hour in between. So like
it's
then you
not.
got to add an extra half hour or take away an extra half hour, and it
You're
totally
making
screws
that
things
up.
up.
You're
No,
totally
it
making-
exists. Okay,
It does not exist. Not on
it
Earth.
exists. It
I
exists.
actually see that video there, the mortgage versus crypto. I did that yesterday or the day before. And it was a really interesting video if you haven't seen it. It was about
This one.
comparing buying a property with crypto as opposed to buying a property with the mortgage. So with the crypto, I'll run it down really quickly. So let's say if the capital gains tax on the crypto was 42%, just for an example's sake, and you wanted a $1 million property, you'd have to actually make 1.42 million to get that property, not 1 million. But if you went through a home loan, the amount of interest you'd pay over 25 years would equate to roughly almost $500,000 on top of the $1 million property. And then to pay off that home loan, the principal and the interest, you will need to make money, income. And with income comes income tax. And with that type of tax bracket that you'll need to be in to make repayments on such a loan, you'd be looking at yet another 42% in taxes paid to pay off this principal and interest. At the end of the day, you'll be paying just over $2.1 million for a $1 million property, as opposed to $1.42 million with crypto for a $1 million property. It was a really interesting video.
What about collateralized loans against your crypto?
I did touch base.
Would that change what you're saying though, with like some of that tax information?
It would change because loans are tax free. And if, let's say, for example, you did get a crypto loan to get the property, and then
because
let's say it's a $1 million
let's
property.
say you put up one Bitcoin, you can usually get 40% of the value, and then the
40 or
Bitcoin,
50.
then if the Bitcoin goes below that, it just liquidates you.
Exactly. That's one of the things I've
That's the
mentioned
risk.
as well.
That's a risk when it comes to
risk.
collateralized loans.
It's a huge risk. But on the other hand, if let's say you did $1 million and then it tripled, you'd get a free house and you'd get your money back with more on top as well. So, but it is a high risk, high reward thing. But I didn't focus on that. I just focused on using crypto outright, as opposed to a mortgage to get a property. So with a mortgage, you're going to be looking at paying over double what you originally intended on spending on the property.
Do you actually, because I've gotten into etymology, have you actually looked into like what the word mortgage means and where it comes from?
Oh, not recently. But.
It's a French word, and it's related to morgue. So it's basically like a death debt.
Oh, definitely.
When people are taking a mortgage out, they're taking a debt that's going to basically take their life to pay off.
Exactly.
So it's like it's interesting when you get into that wordplay and the etymology, and you start to understand that, because it's like people get excited about signing a death debt certificate. It basically says like, I'm going to be in debt forever for the rest of my life until I die.
Yep. Abel, I can get you a diesel one, but not a nuclear one. They're expensive. They're very expensive.
Okay, so are we going to get the tank business?
I think sure.
Abel wants a sub, a nuclear sub, but
I think we should. We're going to have to get Tyler Durden to help us out, but yeah.
I think it's really cool, the thing about Biden, that you're not taxed on money earned from staking and farming. There's no tax on any of that money.
Well, that wasn't Biden. That was the IRS, and it's not technically it technically hasn't set precedents.
But you don't have to pay taxes on it unless you sell. So if you made that money and then you did get a loan for it, there's no tax at all.
But if the SEC wanted to come after you, then you're going to have to do what that couple did.
Why would they go after you?
Because there's no precedence that's been set. They're not saying officially. That's the thing. It's not like official that you're not going to be taxed in those manners. They just won their case, but that case doesn't set a precedence.
That they came out and said that they will not tax earned crypto from DeFi unless you sell it.
No, because even the company even the couple wouldn't take the settlement because they couldn't get the company that was settling to agree to what they were settling for. Because they wanted it publicly stated from the IRS what it was. And the IRS is avoiding trying to set precedents. You know, that's the other thing. I mean, when you speak about that, the last thing I'll say is like, Ethereum has been deemed by a member of the SEC as not being a security, but with the emails, the Hinman emails being brought into the XRP case, it's very possible that the SEC could resend that and then determine and classify Ethereum as a security, which would essentially screw up all the DeFi elements, which is exactly one of the things that the U.S. government doesn't like. I shouldn't say the U.S. government, the central banks, which controls the governments.
It's funny you bring that up because I was actually going to bring up XRP and then you just did. And what I was going to bring up was I was informed of a YouTuber's video, a YouTuber I've never heard of before. He recently, this week, released a video hyping XRP to $65,000. A crypto YouTuber. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I was trying to look this up to confirm it, and I have not seen confirmation by my eyes to say that this is true. But I've heard Coinbase has just re-added educational information regarding XRP.
Like what? Don't buy?
No, like what it is.
Yeah.
So
But $65,000 XRP would give it a market cap.
Add that in, man. Add that in.
But and $65,000 XRP would give it a market cap in the quintillions of quintillions of quintillions. I don't know, man.
Are you trying to get my channel shut down, man?
We didn't do anything. We just showed you a website, man.
With boats that happen to have like bong stems or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just a giant bong.
That could have been.
Do you guys smoke weed in Australia? Does it grow there? You look like somebody that might smoke some herb. Am I judging?
I don't know
you?
what you're talking about, man. Like, what's that mean?
This has a video of the part of the sale. It has a video on YouTube that it can show you.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that I'm no.
I know, I'm just saying.
My channel's under enough scrutiny and microscope that I'm not going to be advertising the sale of boats with built-in bongs.
And dildos.
With long stems.
Yeah, this looks pretty good, man.
Crypto doesn't sleep, but I do.
I don't very well.
I've been sleeping real good lately. I've been going for 15-kilometer walks during the days, and I've been sleeping like a rock. Awesome.
Don't want to walk about. What part of Australia are you?
Melbourne, the dictator state.
The dictator
Victoria.
part. Nice.
Yeah.
I have not been going on long walks, but I was sleeping for like 15 hours sometimes. About 18 hours.
We actually, on that note, we had some news 2 days ago coming from our state premier, Daniel Andrews. I'm pretty sure you've heard of him. He's introducing a new law that by March 15th, if parents haven't got their third that thing, they won't be allowed to enter school grounds that they send their children to.
Yeah, the Miss Teen Crypto was telling me about like her sister goes to high school and she's in sports, and if you don't have your third vax, you can't be in sports. They have different rules. Like if you have
this is parents. The parents won't be allowed on school grounds.
Oh. No, I know, dude.
Yeah.
Like here, I mean, I think we mentioned this when we did the censorship issue on a show last Friday was on Satoshi Sean's channel. Is they are encouraging, they have hotlines set up to encourage children to tell on their parents if their parents are going, like, let's just say their parents don't want them to be vaccinated. Or we can even throw that into the gender element.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening anymore. In fact, it's the opposite. Like in Florida and other places, there's hotlines. Certain states, you have opposites of each other. You have dualities of the same thing. Dude. I think we're heading for, with all of the us versus them, it's gone so far that now, especially in Texas, there's so many I told you, listen, Californians here. So these fucking dicks that
starting on Sunday.
We don't like them.
Sunday.
But my point is that these states, people are leaving them, and we're becoming very, very divided this way.
Right. So I did a video about a week and a half ago, and I want to do another one tomorrow about this astrology, about Pluto's return to the United States. Because when Pluto first appeared in the United States, well, I shouldn't say first appeared. The last time that Pluto returned to the United States was July 4th, 1776. And they say a lot of these cycles and events correlate and are cycles that repeat themselves. We've heard all the talk about the idea of Civil War, American Revolution. You're seeing what's happening in other countries. It's written in the stars. You have Neptune. Tomorrow there's a big event with Neptune on the 20th, not tomorrow, on the 20th. of February.
That's tomorrow for me.
Well, so I know it correlates differently for other parts of the world, but
I'm just glad you stopped being obsessed about Uranus.
and then the 22nd, I'm glad I'm not obsessed about Uranus anymore either.
You still are obsessed about Uranus. Everybody knows that.
But the Pluto return thing's really interesting, and that takes place on Tuesday the 22nd, and it's supposed to be like a 1.5 year long thing. So it could be like it. There's just a lot of talk about transformation, unrest, and change, and that's kind of what's written in the stars.
The word Pluto is actually connected to the word Satan or devil from generations back and over time.
Saturn is connected to Satan.
Depends which culture, because Pluto was known as Pluton, which by certain culture was referred to as the devil as well. And Pluton was derived from Apollo.
Well, Apollo is the sun god, and then Pluto is supposed to be, I think, supposed to be the god of the underworld, or is that Neptune?
I'm
I think
pretty
it depends on
sure
which
that
culture
it's,
it comes from.
Mickey Mouse's dog.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that grass is blue and the sky is green, and that's probably a good way to end the show. So we can converse for a moment here in a second, but I do have links down below in the video description for Crypto Tonight and Satoshi Sean's YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed to both
Nice
channels.
color on the thumbnail, though.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I like that blue.
Yeah, me too.
I use it in my logo.
Nice.
It's purdy. So Darko, we're gonna have to definitely have you back on, and I'll probably end up inviting you to come back on for another show, like separately and stuff. So
no worries. Just hit me up whenever you want. And to everybody watching, please subscribe, like, share, and retweet this episode. Smash that notification bell so you stay up to date with all future episodes, live streams, maybe even some non-live streams. And share this video on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, Instagram, your favorite porn site. Share with your friends, your family, your neighbors, even share it with your pets and your worst enemy, and let us know how that turned out. Thanks, guys, for having me. Really enjoyed it, and I look forward to coming back in the near future.
Yeah, boy.
what is your favorite porn site, since you mentioned it like that?
I'll say Turtles Are Us. How's that?
Is there like too many to choose from?
Turtles Are Us all the way.
Turtles Are Us.
Hotnuns.com.